the things to complain about aren't worth complaining about. So, while you're here, you make hay and you crack on.
Yes,
Listen,
indeed.
everybody have difficulties.
Oh, for sure.
Everybody have difficulties, have things grappling with.
Yeah.
And some people wear it on their sleeves. You see them on your nose.
Say something is up.
Yeah. Others carry on and you'd never
Troopers.
know. Yeah. And, I find it funny when people want credit for being troopers. Like, boy, I'm going to go through one problem and I'll hold it, And I say, yeah, that's what you should do. Your problem. You know what I mean? Well, you want to hold your problem for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
But if it is that you're out there and you're going through a lot, it's always good to seek out some help.
That's right.
Talk to somebody.
That's right. Yeah. Perspective is very important.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
This morning, I'd like to talk about two gentlemen. The first gentleman is Brian Patrick St. George Sykes. He doesn't speak much in the public domain, but as the country's Chief Justice, when he does speak, his words resound in the way that you would expect the words of a Chief Justice in a democracy to so do. Brian Sykes has been consistent in lamenting the conditions at courthouses, court buildings across the country for some time now. On Monday, when he spoke at that King's House swearing-in ceremony for 6 new justices, he again took a bite out of the cherry, decrying again the conditions at courthouses across the island. Before Monday, he made news in 2024, October, when he went parish by parish to highlight the condition of some courts, some courthouses. He pointed out a couple which were housed in a plaza, the one in Manchester, for example, in Mandeville. Sewage issues at one in Portland, the roof caving in at one in Trelawney. Another one, the one in Hanover, which he said it was relatively new, the one in Hanover. You know how long ago the one in Hanover was built? About 40 years ago, but he said it was relatively new and relative, of course, to the others that we have. So he went parish by parish to highlight how rotten the infrastructure was, the wood rotting, the place decaying in many cases in courthouses across the island. And of course, Monday, he came again and said some more. Central to his lament has been the inability of those who run the courts day to day to get the funds to do the repair work that is necessary. So Brian Patrick St. George Sykes, the Chief Justice, consistent in making the point that one, the courts are decaying, court buildings not fit for purpose. Staff have to be girding their loins before going to the physical building to do work. Judges, people on the bench, the same, the lawyers who use everybody. Unpleasant circumstances to get up and go to the courthouses daily because of the condition that they've had to work in. That's one. Two, he has been saying, give us charge of the finances for us to do the repairs that are necessary. So that's Chief Justice Brian Sykes. The second gentleman is Delroy Chuck, the Justice Minister and Member of Parliament for North East St. Andrew. He has been saying that, yes, I admit that conditions of the court don't suit me either. And I would think that it's one of the failings on my watch as Justice Minister, that the courts haven't been put in a position where people can feel comfortable working in the environment daily. If I twin Sykes and Chuck, as Chief Justice Sykes did on Monday, he said, the courts are so bad, the minister himself and the permanent secretary, I'm sure wouldn't work in these conditions. Yet we are expected to turn up and perform daily. Delroy Chuck says, look, one of the problems constraining efforts to fix the courts, the physical infrastructure, is procurement. Now, everybody knows that procurement is the bureaucratic handcuff that many government officials cite for failure to get capital works done. It's not really an excuse because it's a fact. Procurement has a very stifling effect on these things. But Chuck holds it up and says procurement is the reason for the courts not getting the attention that they deserve. But are we to believe that procurement is the issue? Are we to believe procurement is the issue? Let me tell you why I'm asking that question. The numbers show that specific allocations are made in the budget every year for the rehabilitation of courts. In the 2023-24 budget, the Justice Ministry's budget, section of the budget, said $385 million was set aside for preventative maintenance and refurbishment of courthouses. That provision included $185 million from the collection of traffic ticketing fines and is reflected, of course, as appropriations in aid. So $385 million in 23-24 set aside in the Justice Ministry's budget to deal with the rehabilitation, preventative maintenance, refurbishment of courthouses. 2024-25, $550 million was budgeted for the rehabilitation, maintenance, and repair of courts. That $550 million included $185 million from the collection of traffic ticket fines. 2025-26, this budget cycle, $612 million has been set aside for the rehabilitation, maintenance, and repair of courts, and that provision included $400 million from road trafficking fines. So across 3 fiscal years, one, $385 million, then $550, then $612 million set aside for rehabilitation, refurbishment of courts. So is Delroy Chuck telling us that those, well over $1 billion, almost $1.5 billion for the rehabilitation, maintenance, and repair of courts, couldn't spend a significant portion of that because of procurement? Are we to believe that, Minister Chuck? And here's why I ask if we're to believe that. How is it, Minister, that procurement is preventing you from spending the money allocated for the courts to rehabilitate the courts, when your colleague in cabinet, Dr. Horace Chan, has managed to repair and build so many police stations? How come? I recall in 2020, the Prime Minister saying that between 2016 and 2020, of about 186 police stations, 104 had been refurbished, renovated, or repaired by his administration in that 4-year period before COVID struck. In 4 years, over 100 police stations were built, repaired, renovated by the Holness administration. Last year, $500 million was announced by the State Minister in charge of State Minister in the Ministry of National Security, Juliet Cuthbert Flynn, for the rehabilitation and repair of 25 more police stations. And last year in 2025, several news items about police stations being opened. Yeah, the one in Frome, police station here and there, ribbon cutting, police stations being built, refurbished, and repaired. So what is it, Minister Chuck, about the procurement rules as it relates to courthouses being repaired that prevents you from getting that very important thing done? That doesn't afflict Dr. Horace Chang to the extent that he can repair and renovate police stations all over the country. But you are stuck with the dilapidated court buildings that you inherited as Justice Minister. Let's remind the public, Minister Chuck was Justice Minister from 2011 to, call it 2012. The PNP won the election late December 2011. So the administration really changed in 2012. So 2011 to 2012, Justice Minister. And since 2016, Justice Minister. Minister Chuck should show us how many courthouses have been rehabilitated, renovated, or repaired in his time as Justice Minister. Because guess what? Dr. Horace Chang, who's been the National Security Minister since what, 2018, can hold up and say, well, these are the police stations I've built. These are the ones I've repaired. So I want to know, what is it about the procurement rules that handcuffs one government ministry, but at the same time allows another government ministry to crack on with the work? And I think that's a key part of the explanation for us to understand. Why is it that this lament is a staple of every public speech made by the Chief Justice? As we said, he doesn't speak much. But when he speaks, we hear. And we've conditioned ourselves in media to hear the Chief Justice say something about the state of the courts. And we also conditioned ourselves to hear the Justice Minister say, well, procurement issues. But Minister Chuck, I'm suggesting that, you know, the explanation you're giving looks a little bit thin in light of what Chang has done as one example. And I think it deserves a broader explanation, Minister, as to why we are here. And then even more important than the explanation of why we are here, how you are going to move us from this point. Because clearly this stint has just started for you. There is every chance for you to correct what has not been done, or to do what has not been done. And so I just ask this morning for you to get on with the job. Spend the monies that have been allocated. It's not a situation where, as Justice Minister, you can say no funds are available. Perhaps you could call Dr. Chang and ask him what's the secret sauce to cut the taste of procurement as you chew on a mouthful of the thing, Minister Chuck. Ask Dr. Chang, I'm sure he'll share with you. And then when you are sure about how to conquer it, we'll be here to report on your plan of action to get the courthouses sorted out.